Hi, I'm Rabbi Weiss, and welcome to Cooking with Rav Yaakov. Today we're going to be making babka for Shabbat. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get our yeast ready and start activating it so that it'll speed up the process. So I already have 2 teaspoons of yeast measured out and a quarter cup of warm water. So I'm going to pour it into my yeast to start getting the yeast bubbly and activating it and getting it ready to help allow our babka to grow and rise. So just mix it together a little bit so that it combines and it's going to start bubbling. And now I'm going to set my yeast aside. Then I have my 4.5 cups of flour. To my 4.5 cups of flour, I'm going to add my salt. So it's 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add a quarter cup of sugar. There we go. I'm going to mix it all together. Just combine it. And while I'm mixing it, the yeast is starting to get ready so it can help our babka grow. I heated up some soy milk. It's vanilla soy milk, so I'm not going to add in vanilla into this recipe, but you could if you want. And I'm going to pour in my soy milk into my mix. And then I'm going to add in my margarine into the mix. And then I'm going to start mixing it together. I wanted to get it combined. And what you do is that you mix the margarine in, and it's going to start getting a little bit flaky as you mix it together. The next thing that you can do is add in your egg. So the egg is going to be next. I'm just mixing it together a little bit more. And bit by bit, they combine. I'm going to get my egg ready. I'll crack it. Check for blood spots and check for shells. Nope, none in there. So I put it into my mix. And I keep on mixing things together. I want to combine it. It's still a little bit flaky. It's still kind of dry. And the more you mix, the more you combine, the more you add in that and squish in the margarine and all the wet ingredients, the better it's going to get because we're creating a dough. So I'm just mixing it together bit by bit. It's kind of flaky and dry, so I need to keep on mixing it a little bit more. If you're using a mixer, you can just set it aside and let it go on its own. But if you're doing it by hand, you have to keep on working it. So right now, it's a little bit flaky, so I'm going to use my hand, and I'm going to mix it with my hand. I'm going to start kneading this dough. I'm combining all the flour and all the margarine and all the ingredients together to make my dough. It's going to be kind of dry and flaky for a while until you can really mix it and knead it together. So I'm kneading it, pushing it together. You want to combine all the flour into the mixture, because in the flour there's the salt, there's the sugar, they're all mixed together. So I think I'm ready to add in my yeast. So I'm going to pour that in. It started getting a little bit bubbly, so that means it's ready. Now I'm going to mix that in too. There we go. I'm going to knead it in. I want to combine it so that the yeast can activate my flour, and that can all help and grow into a nice, yummy, tasty babka. So babka is a European dish. There's different kinds of babkas. There's cinnamon babka, there's chocolate babka. You really could put anything in your babka. I happen to like chocolate babka, and this recipe is going to be for a chocolate babka. So, as I said, I'm kneading it, I'm pushing it down, I'm distributing all the yeasts and all the margarine and all the sugar so that it gets mixed evenly. It's still a little bit flaky, but less flaky than before. Pushing down on it. Sometimes it helps to stand up when you do that, even though you can't see me at the moment because I'm standing. Push it down. Sometimes you push it with your fist. You can fold it and push it down again. And if you want, you can keep on kneading it. Right now it's still a little bit flaky, and that's okay. I could knead it a little bit more. I'll do maybe 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? So, it's pretty well kneaded. And like I said, it could be kneaded more, but it's not as necessary. So I'm going to set it aside just for a couple of minutes while I make the filling. So here's my dough. I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to move on to my filling. So I have half a cup of cocoa powder. I have 3/4 cup of white sugar. I'm going to pour that in there. And then I have 1/3 cup of oil. I'm pouring that into my mix. I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to mix it all together to make a little bit of a paste. And into this paste, I'm also going to mix a tablespoon of cinnamon and half a tablespoon of vanilla. And I'm going to mix it all together and create that paste, because this paste is going to be the filling for our babka that we'll be making very soon. So you want to mix it all together. You want to combine the cocoa powder and the sugar and the oil and the vanilla so that you can't see any of the dry anymore. You shouldn't be able to see any of the light brown of the cocoa powder. You shouldn't be able to see any of the white from the sugar, but it should all combine to be a nice dark brown. And when that happens, you'll know that you're done. I still have a little bit more mixing to do until it becomes all uniform and all mixed together. So for my filling, I also have some chocolate chips, but the chocolate chips are not going to get mixed into this mixture because the chocolate chips are what I'm going to sprinkle on top of the filling once I have spread it out and put it into my babka. There's a little bit more cocoa that I'm just going to mix in. Well, see, there's a little bit of cocoa at the bottom. I'm just going to mix it all together to create this nice dark brown filling that's going to be my chocolate babka filling. And there I have my filling. It's all done. So now that I've finished my filling, I can go back to my actual babka. So babka, like I said, it's the dough, and I prepared it. I let it sit for a couple minutes to rise a bit and to continue to allow the yeast to activate itself. But I'm going to skip a little bit ahead, and I'm going to say it's time for me to work with it. So I'm going to take about 1/3 of it. This is good dough. Stay together nicely. And I'm going to put it on the table. This table right now, it's a special table that it won't stick to, you might want to put some flour on your table, and either with your hand or with a rolling pin, you can roll it out. I generally like to stretch it out a little bit with my hands first, and then if I have a rolling pin around, then I take out my rolling pin and I spread it out to make it even thinner. The goal is to make your dough nice and thin. So as you make it thin, then you can put the filling in the middle of it, and it gives it a fun layered look and layered taste of delicious babka. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be exact. You want some sort of a rectangle shape. And here I have a rectangle. There we go. So it's nice, my rectangle. And I take out some of my filling. I have my whole bowl here. And I put some on. Since I divided it into 3, I took a third of my filling, and I'm starting to spread it out. You could use a knife, a fork, a spoon. If you really want, you can use your fingers. And it doesn't have to be exactly spread out, because as it bakes, it's going to melt and soften and spread even more. I see there's some spots on mine that have a lot of the filling, so I'm going to try to spread it out a little bit more and take a tiny bit more filling for the spots that are really missing. And I'm spreading it out. And I think that's pretty good. I see some clumps. That's okay, because it's like a surprise. You never know what you're going to get when you bite into a babka. That's definitely something that's delicious that you'll bite into. So I'm going to take some chocolate chips and I'll sprinkle them on just a little bit. Sprinkle them in the middle. And then the trick is to roll it up. So you take one side and you just roll and roll and roll and roll. Now I have a log. So what I want to do, what you should do, is that you should pinch the edges of the log together so that your filling doesn't fall out. You want to pinch the ends, and also the seam, you want to push it down so that it closes the log so that your filling doesn't just jump out. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a knife and I'm going to cut it and slice it down right down the middle. So I'm going to slice this one right down the middle, because when I put it in the pan, it's going to give it a fun look to it. So down the middle, I mean down the long way. So I'm going to cut through it. You want to get to the bottom, all the way to the bottom of the log. Right down. See, now it's just like two halves. And what you do is you put a crisscross across each other. And then you twist them one over the other, like you're making a fun little shape. And here we have crisscross. And now I'm going to put it in my pan. And since I have a oval pan here, a round pan here, I'm going to make a circle and put it in. I'll sprinkle some chocolate chips right on top. And then I'm going to put it aside to bake. Now I'll take another piece of my dough. I'm going to roll it out just like I did before. This time I'm not going to cut it up. I'm just going to roll it out, and I'll make a snake just like I did before. And with that snake, I'm going to tie it into a knot and make another babka. I'm rolling out my dough. I want to make it nice and thin so that I can get the filling in, and then I can roll it up. So my dough is soft, so I can roll it out pretty easily. Here we go. So my dough is ready. See, it's pretty thin. And now I can just put it down. I'll stretch it out a tiny bit for fun. And I'm going to put some more filling in it. As I put my filling in, I spread it out. I don't want too much because you want to be able to taste everything. And also, I want to make sure I have enough filling for my other babkas. If I run out, you can always make more. However, you want to really follow the recipe so that you can see if it's the right consistency and the right tastes. So I filled it up. I'm going to sprinkle a few chocolate chips in it. A few more. And I'm going to roll it up just like I did before. Roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it. See, it's a little roll. See, there's a circle. See, I haven't closed it up yet. I just want to show you. So I want to give some little pinches. I want to pinch the ends together so that the filling does not ooze out. Tiny squeezes and a little bit of a stretch. Because, as I said, I'm not going to cut this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in a knot. Kind of like a knot challah, a knot roll. So I have my snake. I'm going to stretch it just a little bit more. Light, gentle squeezes. And then I'm going to tie it in a knot. I tuck it through. And here we have my babka roll. I put it in my pan. With these, I find that if you squish them down just a little bit, it helps it bake evenly. You might want to sprinkle on a few chocolate chips on top. Or not. So you have one way and another way, and you're going to let them rise for about 15-20 minutes. After they've risen a little bit more, you can put them in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes at 350 degrees. Then you take them out and they'll be delicious. You can always add on some toppings, like a streusel topping, or you can add a glaze or different flavors. But this is a basic chocolate babka brought to you from Rabbi Weiss. As we had our cooking with Rav Yaakov, have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoy your babka.